It gives us great pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Jennifer Molwantwa. Jennifer started at Rose University in 1994, stayed in Thomas Pringle House for 1 year, only, and proceeded to become an opulent. She obtained her Bachelor of Science degree in 1997, her PDEM in 1998, her Biotechnology Honors in 1999, her Biotechnology Masters in 2002, and proceeding to obtain her PhD in Biotechnology in 2008, all from Rose University.
Evening, everybody. It was nothing much more than biotechnology has got a big element of microbiology, and it had a big element of brewing, wine, beer, and then it had a whole influence of being a railroad. So, yeah, it was great. It was great being here. It was a long time. But just to reflect on what Mr. Mali said, because you can't really start a speech after such a great speech. So right now I just thought, let me just leave my speech and just give you the format of how we're going to go from here to the dessert and then to the close. I think you spoke a lot about the societies. And I really would like to say that for our year and our team, you prepared the way for us. When we got here, it was much easier. Those societies that you talked about, they closed us. You do today wear a Sasco t-shirt, tomorrow a PAC t-shirt, French society. Yes. So it was always jeans and t-shirts, and that made life a little bit easier. You mentioned a lot of the great leaders that were here, and that came, including Nelson Mandela and Chris Hani. When I was elected to the SRC, you were that great leader, actually, that came to coach us, and you came to talk to us about leadership. I can't remember the year, but you were here. I still say today, when people ask me who is my inspiration, is Professor Nyoko. Coming from the dusty township streets of Kagiso, and you come here and you're listening of English. It's almost just an inch or more, less than average. And this woman stands there, and as she says it, it sounds like as your mother says it. Come and wash the dishes, the cat is on the table. Yes. Okay, this thing, she says it's chemistry, oxygen or hydrogen. And then it made it easier on some of us. I cannot forget that the heartwarming evenings that we had here actually started at the basement, and then when we had the 3 dance floors, it was here. Letlata over there headed the jazz and fusion. And there was little jazz, a lot of everything else, but that's what made us socialize when I was here. Of non-discrimination, definitely, Rhodes prepared us for that. It mostly prepared us for xenophobia. You couldn't have come from Rhodes and start seeing African brothers and sisters anything else other than yourself. And that was great. On the loss of innocence, yes. But I must say, I got here in 94, so from 94 to 96, I was trying to find my way. A lot of you remember Sylvester, he played for New Gen. He was my father's representative on campus. So I could not make it to those parties where they were known for loss of innocence. So I stayed for a very long time until I told him, I am 21, please, I can make my own decision. The safety that this campus and the town and the community offered us then. You know, it broke my heart a year or two ago when the stories broke about how it was so unsafe for girls. I mean, when you think about what we went through, you could walk from Pringle all the way to Greenhouse and come back at 2 in the morning. It was safe, campus security walked you, our counterparts walked us, the guys walked us, we were friends. And by then, we were so innocent that we contributed to that case of beer. So nobody was drinking anybody and anybody expecting anything. You see, managing 50 rands then was so much easier because then you all contributed and then you have half each and then there's no problem. So those were the memories that I have. But also, we had our fair share of protest. In '96, we had the Motara Must Go. A lot of people remember that. And of course, he like Dr. Oshieng, also had a box of tissues in his office. When you talk about those financial exclusions or academic exclusions, you know they prepared the tissues and you sat there across the desk. And whether you were trying to explain how your parents don't have money or how this kid could not pass because of the situation. The tissues were just there, but the situation was very difficult to broker. We won some, we lost some, and I think that those are some of the things that bother one to say, I wonder what ended up happening to those other people. While Donnies were said, for me, Friday afternoon, chemistry pregs were hell. I could see them after lunch. Through the chemistry windows, I could see them going to chairs and buddies and all of those places. And as they are coming, I could hear the bottles going click, click. I'm trying to titrate. Yeah? It was not very easy, but we thank God that we made it. And yeah, we offered a lot of accommodation for the after parties. Yes. Because 10 o'clock, it was lock-up time, and then it would be like, where's the after party? Jenny's place! Even the new ones knew me. I must say, I went through 4 groups of friends. And one of my memories is a lady that asked me, I don't know if any of you know where Carlton Center is in this town. If you don't know, it's Checkers. If you read it, it's written Carlton Center. So this lady looked at me and she said, Mtanam, that's auntie, what's umntwana kunzima? That's why auntie, what kunini besiza behamba? Kodwa wena usasekhona. Just to translate, she was asking me, what's wrong? Is it that difficult? People come, people leave, but you've been here. You are a constant. And you know, it was very difficult to say. I actually have also been progressing. But I said, you know what? Until I am a Tatas Kashanyana, but it's very special. I'm a person of special needs, so it's going to take me a little long. So those are some of my fondest memories, my memories at Rhodes. But I think what I wrote in the beginning, when before you started your speech, which covered a lot of the items that I had covered, I said that back when I was growing up in the dusty streets of Kagiso Township in Gauteng, stories of friends that had been to boarding school or to camp or away from home resonated so well. But I grew up with 2 sisters, and my father was never going to let us go to, not even a church camp. You could not go away. The only thing you could go away for was a maths camp or a Saturday school, and then you can sleep over if you are doing it in another town. So when Rhodes University came to present at my high school, I was sold, and I decided I just want to go so far. But I had never heard about it before, so I just figured it is just this English place. And you know, when you saw those pictures, then you could just see the green grass, and they were saying, you know, the numbers are so intimate, and the buildings looked white, and I thought, my God, this is the place that I'm going. But little did I know that it didn't just take just applying and going, but it actually took grades to get in. And I must say that I was humbled to be accepted for a 4-year BSc because I dropped from being an A class DET, I don't know those that know this abbreviation, to a D, TED, Transvaal Education Department. So when we swapped, I think it was in 92 and then 93, so I just dropped. You know, it's not that I didn't study or anything, I just dropped. It just showed the level of education was really different. So when I got here, I was told, you know, I was supposed to do a 4-year degree, and we were talking about your... Straight. And you know, I must say, in that time, ELAB, we called it English Language for African People, was such a resource. Because not only did it prepare you for learning how to do tags, but you were there helping us, you know, but just how to understand, how to interpret everything, and it really helped a lot of us. But nonetheless, it was also strange because I did it in the 4 years. But I also mentioned the story that I think what resonated with a lot of us when I started here, a lot of people spoke about how you were not studying for yourself, you were studying, you were representing your community. Yeah. It was, so you got accepted, then the parents start telling the family, trying to raise some funds. Then the family is like, oh, but you know, you've always known that she would turn 18 and go to university, didn't you prepare? And then there was the MIP. You know, the parents would be like, no, I can pay monthly, but they want this money up front. Then you have to rate the church. And then in the church now, there's a lot of people that are also going to university. Then you have to start rating the community. So the pressure as you get on the bus. I remember very well when my father said to me, did you go to that place? I said, which place? He was referring to the place that you stayed opposite. I'm like, no, but I said I'm not active. He said, it's not about being active. People are looking out and everybody's falling pregnant. And we cannot have the situation where you just go and you come here and you tell us about rest and the food and you haven't done anything. So it was a representative of the community, and a lot of people ask me, how did you persevere? Why did you stay? As long as I remember, my parents were educators. And as long as I remember, my parents were studying while we were growing. So my father, I think, finished his honors, and when I was at Rhodes, he was doing his master's, which he never finished. And my mother did those Vista courses, you know, to get the categories as a teacher category. So it was almost like you had to do that which you stole from them. But also people were always saying, oh, you finished. Did you get a job? No. Oh, so you're going to do your master's? Well done. And now you don't even have a chance to say, no, I'm not. I haven't decided. So it almost became automatic. And even today, I still say to young people on Twitter, on any, you know, there's that thing on Twitter, and a lot of people is like, I've got a degree, I don't have a job, I don't have this. And I say, study further, don't leave the system. Because what if you cannot leave the system and you get a PhD, now you're a knowledge generator. You can go from here to the States or anywhere. You know, jobs are not there, but it does not mean that you are ineffective. So I think that is the message that I really resonates a lot with me. Even in the National Development Plan, when we crafted it, we said that by 2030, we would like to have 1,000 PhDs per million people. I don't know if Rhodes is producing that. When I was on the Council of UKZN Prof, we actually passed that motion. It was tough. People in Senate didn't want to hear that. Because that meant now you've been a lecturer for 5 years, 8 years, now you are being told you are not good enough anymore. But we were trying to say, let's set the standard high. Let knowledge generation be real. And let us make sure that when we are generating that knowledge, it is the best that are giving that knowledge. Unfortunately, we've got a system where it's assumed that when you finish school, you must come to university. It's one of the strangest things that has happened in this country. And it's supposed to be a pyramid because people that go to university are those academics in essence. It's not everybody. But that is how the system is. And there's not even enough space. But we're hoping that your growth of the FET system and other kind of trainings is going to grow so that we have a situation to take in all these children. I always tell people that when you go to Dubai, they will tell you that 17% of the population, the 17% of the people in Dubai are actually people from there. The rest are people from outside. There's work, lots of work. But you just have to have that qualification that gets you to be able to go out there. And once you've gone out and you've seen so much, it changes how you see things. It's so surprising. You learn so much, you can come back and bring so much, because then you start seeing that to start a school does not have to be a government problem. You can get together with people, as you are saying, that you've got a few kids through law school and all of that. So I think that for me it was some of the things I wanted to touch on, and I always tell people that I think I'm one of the longest serving students at Rhodes. I don't know if anybody has stayed as long as I have. I think that extra year was added by the fact that I had a 4-year degree, and then another year was added by the fact that when I was doing my PhD, I conceived, so I had to break the year in half. But you said stories of things that resonated. I also remember when I asked my father for 100 rands to go to GAIF, and he said, "You are not doing humanities. You have got nothing to do with German." And I said, "It's not German. They are going to teach us. It's more about how the Germans..." So now you are trying to read your parents, use some intelligence to say Germans are good in engineering, and then there's science, and then I said, "I don't really think you must be going to the GAIF. I'm going to write to your lecturer." And meanwhile, I was just thinking, please don't, because if you do, I'll probably get excluded from the school. I'll get expelled. So also, Rhodes prepared us for the qualification itself carries so much weight. And I understood then why, even when we were talking about the new system and whether you merge Rhodes and Forte, and what about the name, as you indicated, Prof, that it could not be done. And it's going to take a long time, if at all, there's still the appetite for it. Because Rhodes carries that extra bit, that when people look at you and they say, "Oh, you're black, you're a woman, you've got a PhD from Rhodes." You learn to they believe that it's possible, that it is. And from the ILEP days, that is why I always remember that I may not speak, I may not twang, because I just never had an opportunity to acquire it. But when I speak, at least, that English prepared us, and that is what counts. That is the business, the language business. But also, I always wonder about all the things that you said about leadership, about preparing a young for the future. How is our curriculum being adapted to ensure that those things happen? I always hear about the National Development Plan, 2030. People are talking about it as if now we are just about 11 years away from it, if not 10. And everybody speaks about it as if it's something there that somebody must do. It's actually things that we must do in our day-to-day lives. And when you look at it holistically, it still has to be adapted even in the curriculum. Because we are now focusing on things. I mean, isn't climate change such a remarkable thing? I don't know, I read that the Grahamstown thing was not as a result of that, but when they started saying the pumps, then I figured out there must have been less water for the pumps to succeed. And of course, then if there was no money for O&M, as there isn't money for O&M in any municipality, which is a strange phenomenon as well, then you are stuck with that infrastructure that you couldn't use. And that is why we found ourselves in that problem. But how are we going to prepare for it? We're chatting now, and I said it's such a pity that politicians dangle infrastructure such as water infrastructure, energy infrastructure, as if it's political scores. It's not. It's something that is so fundamental, and you cannot plan for it in 5 years and deliver. It's by nature of its plan and how you deliver it. So at the end of the day, when people say in 2007, we said there's going to be an energy crisis, we said there's going to be a 2020, there is going to be a water problem, we are already living it. And people are saying, no, we can build a dam, we may build a dam, we are not going to build a dam. Where I work from Mpumalanga, I have got the responsibility to ensure that 95% of the time I guarantee water that goes to Swaziland and Mozambique. It's not negotiable. And we are sitting with people that this year we're going to have a dam, next year we may not, this year we may not. But I think that what for me becomes important is that in our own little way, in every sphere where we practice what we have learned from here, we need to make a contribution. We always, the recent judgment about the two lawyers, advocates, that then said it was actually wrong for the president to have, for the former president to have tried to manipulate them. I felt, well, that is true. But where was their integrity? Where was their ethics? I mean, I could not have stayed 12 years at Rhodes, and when somebody that I know did not sit behind a desk to do what I know and tell me, put it in writing or fire me, you know? And then when the shit hits the fan, unfortunately, excuse my French, then you will not be part of that problem. So I think in closing, because the dessert is getting cold, I would like to say that my bio says that we have to have empathy to be able to advise the future generation. We should have walked in their shoes, and if you haven't, try and take time to listen to somebody that has walked that journey. You know, it becomes so difficult when you say, oh, these youth don't know anything, you know, what we went through. What they're going through is not what we went through. When we were growing up, there were no drugs in our communities. Today, they are everywhere. When we were growing up, mental health was frowned upon, was not as prevalent. Today, it is the day-to-day. When we were growing up, your community protected you as a girl. Today, the danger is the guys that you go to class with. So what I'm trying to say is that let us be more empathetic and let us try and instill in them a sense of hope. It is so much more important to hope, you know, and dream. Well, people said, you know, what in the name of Martin Luther were people dreaming about? You can't develop a 30-year plan and still dream. I believe then you implement it because you're part of it. But that's just a story for another day. So what I want to say is that being said, let's take the positive and let's take the negative and learn from it. And then let's take all of that which is good and take it into the future. And I think that it is such a privilege, I mean, for the SRC president to be standing here, talking in front of the VC, and you're not going to be victimized. They knew. Tomorrow you would fail politics. We got to the point where we even had to learn how to write. After then, we could change we didn't have to write the names in the question papers, in the exam scripts. Then came the point of, if you've done Bantu education, your handwriting shows. And if your initial is M, or L, or N, there's no way. So we had to go and write those G's, those B's. So I must say that for me it has really been a privilege, and I think, Prof, I'm glad that Rhodes University has transformed, and I'm glad that also, as you said, the excellence remains. But the Africanization of our curriculum and the preparation of our youth to become those future leaders that we need is paramount. And I think with those few words, I'd like to say
Doctor, I think from my end, how I resonate with your speech, it's like I really enjoyed how you use a personal figure as a core of inspiration, Dr. Nyokongo, who's still around on campus and very much so. So it's not just a figure out there in the world, but somebody who's close by. And in terms of what I picked up from both your speech and Mr. Mani's speech as well, as SRC, how we still much engaged on the whole negotiating for students and their financial appeals and academic appeals, and so that pretty much is still a task that we engage on as a SRC. And in terms of from my personal start, yeah, I'm also a postgraduate. So when dining hall staff see my face, they still ask, "How long is your degree taking?" So it's still a common feature for all postgraduates who find themselves here, going on as far as we go on. Yeah, so dining hall staff still recognize us and ask us, "Then so we still persevere." In terms of also what you touched on around how the communities we come from, I think my generation, I think where we source our funding is through NSFAS, and how that has brought us to this point in time, and how the sourcing of funding is still an issue that our generation still, though the where we get our funds from, but in terms of funding higher education, is still a prominent issue. And also with roads moving, I think I can speak on behalf of the Vice Chancellor. Rhodes still is growing towards growing its postgraduate group. So you can be definitely reassured that the class of, I think this year, a PhD group was quite big, especially within humanities. So Rhodes is stepping in that direction. We're well ahead of our. And in terms of stories and the students, the stories that we use as students for our parents to muster up funds for the camp, I think the stories may change from what we use, from tats to other things. That's still pretty much a practice. And how you raise the issue around environmental change. I was speaking to Primrose, and how she touched on how it's warmer. Grahamstown is a lot warmer than in previous years. So that is still a very pertinent issue, as currently we as students are facing with the water issue and kind of thing. And it's still a very much pertinent issue and a topic that we as students engage on and know what's the future of Rhodes University in this kind of environmental climate. And the last bit, and I really want to draw on those, or echo your words around empathy, and how that is still a common thing that we need to practice as people and as abantu, as empathy and recognizing where people are coming from, and instilling hope for my generation as well, that we really do need at this point in time when we face issues like mental health. We feel that there's no hope for us, and so that that word of encouragement for my generation is very key. So I'd like to round off with the formalities of this evening, and so please enjoy yourselves and make sure your feet touch the dance floor. I'd like to say thank you to the catering staff and the students that have served. Thank you to the Vice Chancellor for hosting this event. And thank you to Ray and Espanzo. Espanzando. It's an Italian word, so yeah. Yeah. Also, I've just been given the word. Thank you to also our visitors from the United States and Australia. Thank you for all coming. And last but not least, to the guests for being here and in sharing your memories partly from yesterday and even to today. Thank you for accepting the invitation and being here to share this moment in time.
In my culture, indoda yomuzi yona ethetha I just want to thank our SRC president, for the 2 evenings. He has done a stunning job as an MC. Thank you very much, Madlogov. We are very fortunate at Rhodes to have outstanding young people who avail themselves to serve as student leaders. Over the years that I have been here, we have never struggled with them passing their courses and moving on. But as they apply themselves to their studies, they've also provided exceptional leadership. So thank you very much to you, Matlogov, and many thanks to the other SRC leaders. We are very, very privileged to have young people of your caliber. I'm always filled with a deep sense of hope and optimism that tomorrow will be a better day than today. Thank you very much.